Hi, I'm Matthew, and this is,
I'm Julian.
and we are from the Singapore FinTech Association, the InsurTech subcommittee. We're here today at the Insure Innovator Connect Asia 2025.
We're in Singapore today, and you can find out more on our socials to see all the coverage on this event. All right, and good afternoon. Very happy to be here for the next in line for our series at Insure Innovator Asia 2025. I'm Julian, co-founder of Novo AI, and today I have the great pleasure of receiving on stage my good friend Cyrus Cruz, sorry, it's already late. Oh God. And Cyrus is now the APAC Strategic Growth and Head of Insurance at Tenity. What does that mean, Cyrus?
So, Tenity is a Swiss venture capital and open innovation program provider and accelerator. We were originally part of the Swiss Stock Exchange about 10 years ago. We were the innovation arm. Then we was called out. Now we have two service offerings. One, of course, is the venture capital, where we work a lot with the Swiss banks, and also Ripple is one of our strategic partners, where we invest in seed to Series A startups, early stage across fintech, insurtech, of course. Right now, we're looking at the healthcare vertical as well. Underlying technology would be, of course, AI. Everything is everything AI now, and Web3 as well. And then in my role as a strategic growth head for APAC, I look at streamlining the operations that we have and creating new services, especially introducing emerging tech to industries like insurance and banking. And also as head of insurance, looking after the insurance portfolios that we have, and also working with the insurance companies across the globe.
Well,
Yep.
looks like you're going to be busy for the next few years.
Yeah, I have 5 minutes, so yeah.
Right. Insurance is unsurprisingly called a traditional industry very often, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to new technologies, AI, IoT, blockchain, you name it, why is it so hard for insurance companies to move past the hype and past the POC kind of like series and actually use them and have like real use case and that go into production?
I think what's interesting about this is, like, for example, if you look at like 10 years ago or like even 8 years ago in terms of Innovation Lab, which I was originally part of, there was a lot of budget around exploring emerging technologies and how that could be embedded into the business value chain. And in that time, we were able to explore with like blockchain technology, even healthcare companies. But we called it Innovation Lab, but effectively it was like actually research and development. So it was more of like a wait and see, taking off the hype of like Airbnb disrupting the hotel industry or Uber disrupting like transportation. And then insurance and, of course, banking were looking at those bets at the time, which were very much frontier looking. But now what has happened is obviously there's not a lot of adoption around that space. But now with the current climate of our economy right now, a lot of insurers and banks are looking at pragmatic solutions, no longer frontier exploration or experimentation. It's like, how do I make revenue out of this new emerging technology, or how do I save cost? Now, to answer your question, why it hasn't been adopted, because again, before there was a lot of experimentation happening, it wasn't deeply rooted in terms of like strategy development. So even in the previous company I worked with, we applied two strategies. Strategy one was for frontier technologies, where these were the bets that we were looking at. So for that previous Japanese insurer that I was working with, they invested in a healthcare company in India that draws up blood samples from patients. And of course, with the blood samples, you have data. And the bet at the time was we can leverage on that data to be able to underwrite diabetes much better or precise. But of course, the reality comes in and settles in. Insurance is not that straightforward. There's a lot of considerations. But again, that scratched the itch for the company. It's like, okay, we're not missing out on anything. It's very difficult to do, and we'll just let that be. That's why there was a lot of experimentation around. But this time around, a lot of like the emerging tech adoption is rooted on like pragmatism. Okay, if I ingest the Gen AI for claims like Novo AI does, what's my immediate cost savings? What's my ROI in the next 6 to 12 months? And I think we're seeing that shift right now, which is great. Unfortunately, there's no more of that free money that we had 8 years ago. But I think the industry is moving in the right direction in terms of being more prudent, in terms of like making bets in terms of emerging technologies. And then if I may just go deeper on this, we're also going to be looking at like Southeast Asia or India, for example, wherein labor cost is not that high. So it's very difficult for you to justify like a spend on tech if it's like well-running operations. So I think what's going to happen now is like, again, rooted on like very P&L driven, business case led and emerging tech adoption. So that's what we're going to be
So
seeing.
from innovation lab, that were kind of like a R&D center in disguise.
Yep. Thank you.
Actually, we have real business challenges, and now we need to kind of like put a ROI and KPIs in front of those cases. Does that mean that those companies have completely given up of developing those solutions internally and are just looking on the outside to bring solutions that exist, or there's still like some
So this is like you're watching a movie right now. So this is like the part 2 of it, right? Before there was more openness in terms of like working with vendors, but now the advent of it's not just digital transformation and emerging tech. It's now like AI. We're seeing a lot of mix and match as of the moment. But I think there's a lot more confidence with the incumbents right now in developing it themselves, because of course technology is more accessible right now, unlike before. So I think it's a little bit more challenging right now for third parties to be able to come in and work with insurance companies. But I think there's still some space around it.
Okay. So mix some of it that will develop internally, and some of it like
I mean, it's the same battle from before, right?
Okay.
Like when you propose an idea to the IT team, it's either like, why is that budget going to a third party? I mean, I can develop it myself. I have a development team with me. I have an AI team with me. How does that look like? So I think for incumbents, it takes someone with a certain level of maturity, like to know where they're going to play. Okay, these are the things I build in-house. These are more of exploratory or things that I don't want to spend my time in. And maybe I'm better off working with a third party.
So that raises an interesting point about the culture of innovation or the culture of transformation. We're no more talking about what you're saying in a sense is like we move from innovation to transformation of the organization. And so this culture of transformation and the decision making that's required inside of those large organizations. So what does it look like concretely? What is the culture, and what are the process to actually bring that transformation internally?
Well, what has worked with me in my previous roles, number one is like a top-down mandate, particularly in Asia. So the ones that were effective, like the CEO was in the monthly calls, in the monthly meetings to make sure that the transformation or innovation initiative is followed through. That's number one. Number two would be a dedicated team to be able to handle these new initiatives. You can't go double hatting. You can ask your business guy to handle a side project, let alone an IT guy to do a side project. Because what's going to happen is like, oh, sorry, the house is burning. I got to put a pause on this current project that we have, and we got to fix this. Same thing with IT. So those are the two things culturally that needs to be accepted by the companies to be able to successfully adopt emerging technologies.
So for you, you say you need a transformation team to actually lead those projects.
Right.
But then how do you reintegrate it into the regular processes?
Oh, that's a good question. So that dedicated team should be working closely with the business units or IT. It's deeply rooted in the strategy. So in fact, one of the new service offerings that we're providing right now at Tenity is, rather than just like the traditional accelerator models, like what's your focus area? Oh, I want to look at Gen AI for claims. I want to look at like digital distribution, embedded insurance. Then we talk to our network. Okay, which are the good startups? But even before that, what we're going to do is like, we're going to sit down with the individual teams and of course talk to the project sponsor in terms of strategy. Like, okay, well, distribution is interesting right now, but if I'm seeing that the business unit is not willing to work with you, or like there's some it's very nuanced. I mean, you would know this, and I think the audience would know this as well. If I don't even get to see the distribution team working with me, it's like, it's a non-starter. I'd rather recommend you to focus on claims and operations. As I've mentioned earlier, if you're focusing on immediate ROI, the sponsor's neck is on the line as well because they're paying us. So we got to make sure that it's pragmatic, it's deeply rooted. And to your point, right? I want to plug our hackathon for the end of the month, but that's also what we're doing with the hackathon. It's like, it's not just a show wherein we sign the big checks and do the publicity. What we're also taking into consideration is like, what does this use case or problem statement that you have, and what would it look like in production? Okay. Because I think that's also good for us. It builds up a credibility. It's good for the industry. And I think the hackathons right now that we're seeing, it's being resurfaced again. Hackathons like died like a...
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's gone, and now it's coming back with...
It's coming back.
But it's a good way to iterate and test new technologies and come up with something concrete very quickly. Right?
I agree. And it's because I think because innovation labs, well, hackathons disappeared, innovation labs appeared, and innovation labs are gone. But again, it's like you have an innovation lab, you run 4 POCs in a year with like a full stack team and everything else. I mean, hackathon is a good proxy. I think
you forgot the venture building in between as well. It's been very trendy for a bit.
Yeah. What happened to venture building? Eh? I have some friends out there. I think some of them are still doing okay. Yeah, venture building. That's something that we have to tap into, by the way. Yeah.
Can you, top of your mind, can you think about like a few examples that actually worked, and maybe working backwards, what made them successful, or maybe one or two elements that make them successful?
Yeah. So, going back to my example earlier, two things, right? CEO mandate, dedicated team. My previous organization was working at a general insurance company in Indonesia, and they had a stack of like renewal notices for general insurance policies. Now, typically, an insurance company would employ like a contact center. You get the 10-man people and then perpetually calling. But renewal is not selling. It's just a reminder. Insurance is due, pay us this, blah, blah, blah. At that time, voice bots was a thing, where instead of like setting up a whole Avaya system and telephony system and CRM, you get a voice bot, get 2 licenses, and it effectively makes up the renewal for you. I think in that sense, like, so again, top-down approach, CEO, a dedicated team, and tied in strategically. Because what's my as-is scenario? My as-is is I have like a bunch of renewal letters that I send out manually. My renewal rate is at 48%. Now I have a automated voice bot. Everybody knows it's a robot. We're not fooling anyone, right? But at the same time, there's that automatic nudge that, oh, by the way, your insurance is due. Then it raises your renewal rate. So I think that was a really very strategy. And this was back in 2019, by the way.
But I love it because it's not actually shiny. It
It's not
solved a
shiny.
very concrete problem without
Correct.
all the hype and
Yeah.
and without necessarily like all the buzzwords of the moment.
Correct.
Right? So,
But you know the fun part about that was it was still cool because it was a voice bot and it spoke Bahasa. So
that coming back as well. They
I
call
thought-
like AI SDR now, right?
yeah. So that was pretty cool. But then in general, of course, RPA had a lot of adoption. I think we see some of the Singapore insurance companies have like 80% on RPA. So I think those are very practical. And I think that's what we're going to see as well in Gen AI. I wrote a white paper for Tenity in terms of like everything's agentic AI, blah, blah, blah. But it's still addressing the same problems that the previous technology has addressed. What's agentic AI right now was AI 3 years ago. It was RPA 5 years ago. It was Rules Engine 7 years ago. It was Excel on macros 10 years ago. So it's just very much laden on like operations, claims, as you guys do very well. So I think it's a lot of that like high volume, frictionless processes that this new technology is addressing.
And so pulling that thread and thinking about what make the collaboration work, and now focusing especially between large companies, insurers in particular, and the new kids on the block, the startups like us.
Yeah.
What have you seen work well, and what is the role of each of those stakeholders, startups, but regulators, and also the organization like Tenity?
Tenity, right? So again, it goes back. One thing that we're trying to like update within Tenity is like we always shout out about like technology. So we're very big on Web3. We're big on agentic AI, blah blah blah. But what we're talking about is like who are effectively your buyers? Your buyers are banks, insurance companies, healthcare companies. And for them to pay attention, you should also impress upon them that you understand the business within the value chain. So for example, insurance, like how much do you know about insurance? How much do you know about distribution, operations, claims, actuary, pricing? And then from there, they realize, okay, you really understand what our problem is. And then we will introduce solutions to them. Now, as an organization, as I've mentioned earlier, you also have to pick a lane, right? Like clear cut. Which are the stuff that are taken care of by IT? Which ones are we going to build? Which ones are we going to partner with? Once you've identified that strategically, where do you have bandwidth around it? It's not just like chasing in terms of like the AI, Gen AI project checkbox. It now has to be grounded on like proper numbers, revenue, or even cost savings. So that's the whole part of it. And it starts with the institutions like insurance. Like, and we can also even help with that. I'm not selling Tenity, by the way, but we can also help with that. Like, demystify for you. It's like, where do you want to get started? And then, you know what? We joke about this offline a lot, Julian. And you were the ones who oriented me with like this whole GPT thing and its capability. But even here right now, we talked to some of our peers from consulting even. I told them how you guys use Perplexity as a tool for research. And they said, what? And I was like, and
Good morning.
yeah. No,
Welcome to 2025.
exactly. No, but that's also what concerns me is like we talk about this a lot. We are in these forums, we're in the stages. Like, have you talked to the head of claims? Like, yes, of course, maybe they use GP to proofread their emails to a certain extent, but you also have to educate them like what the capabilities of these new technologies are, not for them to to build up a website from vibe coding, but it's more just to have a general appreciation of what the technology can do. I think that's the big gap that we're seeing in the market that needs to be addressed as well.
So we've seen a few insurance companies actually doing that well. Top of my mind, there's Chubb, MSIG that have done like some sort of like
AI 101.
internal ChatGPT to get their team actually
That's good.
to get to use it and in a compliant way where they can when they can experience the technology, then that gives them idea, right?
Thank you.
Make them more
And
comfortable.
remember the agentic AI event we were in, and I think it was Sigrid from EFG. She was the chief data science officer, and everybody's like talking about hype, blah blah blah, and she was more of like, no, I start with educating the stakeholders, and it's like, yeah, what is this? What it can do? What are the risks? Then if you want to go like all deep into it, what's your governance framework? Are there policies in place? IT infrastructure, security, etc. So again, we all go back to the institution. We're at their mercy all the time.
So
And that's the first thing you gotta.
needs to start from the organization, identify a concrete problem, understand what the technology might be able to do or not, and then either go through organization like Tenity or Scoot for the market and try and see what's out there.
And if you don't know where to begin, you can reach out to Tenity and we can help them demystify it. And
Now looking forward then. So what would be the one advice you would like? You've been in insurance for quite a while now. So what would be the one piece of advice you would give to an insurance leader so that they can be ready for this next wave of right now it's AI, but there's going to be something next.
Quantum computing, stable coins in insurance.
So how would you tell them to get on board with that?
I think just be realistic with your expectations, right? If you want to unravel this whole InsurTech mask, it's like, for example, we were talking about core system modernization like in the past 24 months. Then later on, they realized, okay, it costs a lot. There's a high risk in migrating to a new core system. To a certain extent, like some of the insurance companies said, you know what? I'm good with my existing one. I only need to fix claims. Let me focus on that. And that's okay. I think what's your real priority as an organization, right? You have to identify that. If I want to improve distribution or like agent servicing or what have you, then lock it in. And then that's number one. Like overall as a business strategy, what it is. That's number one. Number two, dedicated team plus IT. Where does IT play in? Which leeway do you give autonomy to IT that they can build and which one they can partner? So it's clear. You don't go into this dance. Sorry, I'm going to get angry. You don't get into this dance. Oh, no, we can build that. All of a sudden, oh, yesterday you were telling me you can't build this. Now you can build it because we're bringing a third-party vendor. So you have to be clear on your objectives. Like, what's my business goal and strategy? If I want to save on claims operations because, it's archaic, etc. And then you took with IT, okay, IT, you're doing some core system modernization. How about we engage a third party for that? Okay, then we start sourcing. Then that's where we come in. Okay, what type of technology? Okay, are you looking for enterprise companies? Are you looking for scale-ups? Are you looking to make bets on like early stage startups because they're more nimble and faster to work with and maybe potentially you can invest in? So I think clear focus on what you want, how about like business results? And then get IT involved as well on where you can play. IT security will come into play. And a proper governance framework around it.
Excellent.
It's not the most sexiest answer you'd hear, but yeah, it just works. Yeah.
I think that's all I can think about for today. But like maybe as the last word, a shameless plug for Tenity. Who should contact you and why?
Oh, that's a lot. So again, for Tenity, we manage our fund. We invest in C to Series A startups. If you are in the space of fintech, insurtech, healthcare, with the AI and Web3 as underlying technologies around it, feel free to reach out to us. More than happy to meet and discuss. Number two, for our open innovation services, we do market access programs. So work with various countries like Canada, Italy, even Azerbaijan. So if they're interested in understanding what the APAC market is like, what the ecosystem looks like, not only for insurance, but across financial services and healthcare as well, and vice versa. If some Asian companies wants to go and understand Europe better, we'll be more than happy to assist them with that. In terms of our open innovation services, in addition to our market access program, of course, we do our accelerator, which has been the thing that we've been working on a lot. Next year, we're looking to replicate the hackathon that we've done in Switzerland. We're looking at stable coins next year as well.
Okay.
And then one more thing is in terms of this like hybrid approach in terms of like innovation lab in a box. So as I mentioned, innovation labs have closed down, but there's a lot of things happening in emerging technologies. So we're currently about to start working with one of the banks in Asia to be able to provide that service, like a high-level market report, develop a strategy, and effectively doing a pilot and production scalable business model for them. So to your point at the start,
Amazing.
busy, but no, it's
Literally a
fun.
Swiss knife.
Yeah, there you go. But no, we're quite focused. Financial services. We tend to stay in Orleans as well.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Cyrus, for
Thank you.
coming today. Hope the event brings a lot of those people you want to talk to.
I hope
or
so
should
too.
want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And I'll see you very soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope you enjoy our podcast review just now. This podcast review is brought to you by IIC, SFA, and MESSION.
And we hope you enjoyed the Insure Innovator Connect Asia 2025 in Singapore. We sure did it.
We're looking forward to meeting you again in our IIC future events. See you next time. See you next time.
See you. Cheers.